Hello, this is Wes Bridle, and this is another Kingdom Calling Economic Update video. All of these videos are updates to the coming storm, which gives you a big picture of what's going on in the world economy. There's a link to watch that for free right near this video. This is part 2 on world economic events, and I'm going to jump into it. Instability in the Middle East means expensive oil. So all the stuff that you see happening right now, it's not super bad as far as impacting oil, but there was news out yesterday or the day before that Iran was flexing their muscles and considering shutting down the Strait of Hormuz just for an exercise, a military exercise. There's something like 30% of the world's oil flows through that tiny strait, because we're talking about Saudi oil, Iraqi, Kuwaiti, and Iranian oil all flowing through, not to mention I think the Emirates. So a tremendous amount of the world's oil flowing through that area. And so a big fear has always been if Iran goes into war with anybody, that that's going to be shut down and the price of oil will double, triple in no time. So they're actually kind of flexing their muscles and threatening that right now just as an exercise. So it's an interesting thing to keep an eye on. The price of oil could dramatically increase depending on what trouble pops up in the Middle East, and there certainly will be more. There's two extreme Muslim groups gaining power in Egypt. So again, we being the U.S. government, Obama seemed to think it was a great idea that the Mubarak was kicked out of Egypt, and now what we see is with the elections that are going on there, the two leading powers of the new democratic system are two extreme Muslim groups. Isaiah 19 talks about this, so it's deadly, horrible, and wonderful all at the same time. But we see those things happening, and again, we talked about that in the coming storm video 2 years ago. We told you that would be happening there. And let's see, Soros is raising his own world police force. This is a weird thing. It's not clear. Obviously, he's not talking about it, but he's just hired Chris Stone, whose background is in organizing police and army forces around the world in all these emerging countries. And so it's interesting that Soros is hiring this guy. It looks as if he's trying to set himself up with his private little army around the world. IMF, their SDRs will probably be a key part of the bailouts. IMF, they've stated very publicly that they want to have a new world reserve currency that they control, basically set themselves as unelected government of the world controlling the money. So it's going to be interesting. It's probably at some point when things break down enough that will step in and be the new world reserve currency. And maybe when politicos in the different Western countries are unable to print more money because it's politically, this is just one theory, one possibility. It's not politically expedient to print more money, that the IMF steps in with SDR, prints more SDRs. Well, that's basically printing US dollars, euros, yen, pounds. But interesting to watch this develop, where they might come in and be a part of that, which is increasing their own power in the world. Totally unelected, of course. Dexia, which is a huge Belgian Swiss bank, went under, of course, a couple months ago. MF Global went under, so these are the first massive big banks to go under because of the euro crisis. There's going to be many, many more. Third quarter, it's interesting to watch the Dexia situation. I don't think I've got this anywhere in my notes, but at first they were immediately bailed out by the governments of Belgium, France, and Luxembourg. I think Luxembourg had 2% of the deal, but so basically Belgium and France. But then after Belgium started looking at the books, they said, wait a minute, we can't afford to bail out this country, and they're wanting France to take more of it. France is under the eye of the rating agencies because they can't afford all the things they're promising to do. So you have it's a microcosm of the entire situation in Europe. The banks are absolutely over indebted, and they're about to all fall over. They just simply can't afford. They've taken on too many bad debts. Well, so you would think, okay, the sovereign governments are going to bail them out, but they can't bail them out. They're broke too. The only thing that can save that, I say save because it's a horrible alternative, but is massive printing. Third quarter was the worst stock market for the world since 2008. So there, signs everywhere of that. Was of course when we had the last big crash. More rioting everywhere. I think you already basically talked about this. And so it's been interesting. The markets start crashing, and then the Financial Times out of London or the central banks come out. These things are always timed to surprise the market with wonderful news. We're saving everything, and so then the market gets bumped. If you're a technical person, which I'm not, but I somewhat follow what other technical people are saying, they look at charts to see patterns. And if the market breaks below a certain number, then that's a big deal. The dollar or the euro broke below $1.30 this morning, which was a really big deal to these people. And it means certain things emotionally to some traders around the world. If people have numbers that they think I'll buy or sell above or below a certain point, and so right when we get down to that point on the charts, either the Financial Times will come out with something or the central bankers run out with something, and they'll pop it up, and things like, okay, we're just kind of going around. Well, that's only going to work so long. When we break below those points, that's a big emotional turning point, and we probably see big collapses in the markets, and potentially in the short run, the U.S. dollar going much higher. It's actually a sign that the U.S. dollar is weak, that it hasn't gone much higher, because with all the problems in Europe, you would think the U.S. dollar should be skyrocketing, but it's gotten stronger, but it's still pretty weak compared to where it was a few years ago. And so that's actually a sign of the weakness of the U.S. dollar, that the world really doesn't want to rush into the U.S. dollar, but they are to some degree because they don't see a lot of alternatives. A Swiss study shows that only 1,318 companies basically control world finance. And then they drilled down, they said actually 147 of those countries control 40% of the world's wealth. But of those companies, they all own each other. And so they're very susceptible to a massive crash. And I've already talked about this. I didn't need this study to see it, but they're also interlocked. And as one crashes, they're all going to crash. And so, I mean, we're in process of that happening now. Thank you for watching this. Again, if you haven't seen the Coming Storm video, there's a link to do so for free. I really recommend it. Thank you. God bless you.